What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about the new schedule that NASCAR released, and even more importantly, something I have been wanting to talk about. I did touch on it a little bit, in a past video, but just like my last video, I went a little deeper with, one of the things I want to see NASCAR do, and as far as growing as a sport. And I talked about the need to appeal to a wider fan base, and those of you who saw my last video, you know what I'm talking about reaching out to fans that are not normally fans of the sport, getting them access to races, and just giving them that experience of what a NASCAR race is all about, and try to branch out that way. So that was my last video, but today I want to talk about something else that I do think NASCAR needs to focus on in order to help the sport grow. And it has a little to do with the schedule. Actually, a lot to do with the schedule. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about what NASCAR just released a new schedule for next year. I do believe it's like a one-year thing. They're going to change it again, I think, in 2021. I think it's just it's a process, right? So it's, as far as I know, it's just for next year. I'm not going to go down the line to each where every race is. Suffice to say, for the most part, I really like the new schedule. I like that the last race now is going to be in Phoenix. That's a great racetrack. They switched around a few dates here and there. So for the most part, I like it. There's also a night race at Martinsville, and they changed the date on that as well. That might be one of the best races of the year. Martinsville's always great, but imagine at night. Long overdue in my opinion, but I really look forward to that. I think they moved the Daytona race now. It's going to be the last race of the regular season. And they're going to hype the hell out of it. It's going to be one of those things about somebody's last chance to win or get in, and restrict the plate races, or I should say pack racing. That's the one place anybody can kind of win. I don't like this win and get in thing. They're still doing that. I hope they do away with that eventually. But in either case, they're going to milk that. That's why they made it the last race of the regular season, because the story is going to be all about, a whole list of drivers that can win and get in the playoffs in the last race of the season. So hopefully that does drum up some interest. It's a smart move by NASCAR, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of Daytona or Talladega, these pack racing, and I'm not a fan of this win and get in. So, but it's not about me, right? If this helps generate more interest from fans, then I'm all for it. So that's a good move, a smart move on NASCAR's part. However, I'm gonna talk about real quick one thing in this schedule that really I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I don't get what NASCAR is doing, but they actually have a double header at Pocono, 2 weeks in a row at Pocono. I love Pocono. I know a lot of people, there's certain tracks on the circuit people don't like. I don't really have a track I don't like. I'm not, outside of like Daytona and Talladega, I'm not a fan of those races. I still watch, but for me, they provide the most boring races. They're just, you'll get a couple of incidents throughout the race that are exciting, and that's about it. And they're exciting for the wrong reasons. But enough of that. The point is, I like the diversity of these tracks. I like that every weekend there's somewhere else. And a good schedule, it should change every week. This idea of running at the same racetrack 2 weeks in a row, I don't get it. It's almost like they're purposely trying to sabotage Pocono. I don't get it. What sense does that make? I don't know. I don't know what NASCAR's thinking. You should never have two races at the same track 2 weeks in a row. Now, I know Charlotte, you got the All-Star race, and then you got the Coke 600. I do consider that a little different. You know, the All-Star race is really, really different from the regular races. And it's short. So I'm okay with that. But 2 weekends at Pocono, I have no idea what NASCAR's thinking. Maybe one of you guys can explain to me how this works. I thought that was a boneheaded move. I don't get it. And I hope it's, like I said, this schedule is a 1-year thing, and then they're going to revise it. But that's enough of that. So that's the one thing that stood out to me that was a negative in this schedule. Most of the rest of it, I'm okay with. I like a lot of it. But a doubleheader at Pocono, I don't know what NASCAR's thinking, but that's enough of that. But now I'm going to talk about, in terms of growing the sport, things that NASCAR needs to do, right? Like I said, my last video, I talked about, you know, reaching out to fans and outside the normal demographics and stuff. And now I want to talk about the schedule. And here's what I think NASCAR should do. And maybe, who knows, in the future. But this is something that I really believe benefits a lot of people. Not just NASCAR, not just the fan base, but also the owners of these racetracks. I think that, first of all, NASCAR should move as many races to night races as possible. I know there are some tracks on the circuit that don't have lights, but I would suggest to those racetracks, to the owners, that if you want to maintain NASCAR races as part of the schedule and be part of the NASCAR circuit, you're going to have to make the investment and get lights at these tracks. Okay? Now, I know it's a lot of money, but I'm also going to explain to you why it'll pay off. Because besides moving these races to night races, right, there's another aspect of the schedule that I want to change. Okay? First of all, well, let me go to the next thing. I want to split all the series. I don't want to run multiple races at the same track on the same weekend. You know, what you got now, most of the time, you got, you know, all 3 series showing up for that particular weekend at a particular track. I think NASCAR has been shooting themselves in the foot doing that. I think that if you spread these races out, it gives these tracks more NASCAR events every year. And for the most part, a lot of these racetracks, they sit unused. I know they have other events throughout the year, other race series, all kinds of other events. But for the most part, these tracks do lay dormant most of the year. They're kind of a ghost town at most places throughout the season. And then you get a weekend or 2 weekends of NASCAR. I'm just talking about NASCAR, right? Whatever other events, you know, they have at these tracks, that's something else. But I'm going to use Dover and Pocono as an example because those are my local tracks. Those are the tracks I visit the most because they're the closest to me. And they both have 2 dates. Now, Dover and Pocono, they both have this, you know, all 3 series for a particular weekend. I think that's not good. First of all, you got 3 different series competing with each other for the weekend for ticket sales. And a lot of people can't afford to go to more than 1 race on a weekend. So when NASCAR comes to town, they're going to most likely choose to go to a Cup race, right? Because if you can only go to 1, you're probably going to choose Cup, of course. And that really hurts Xfinity and Truck. And I think that if you spread these series out instead of 2 weekends, right? Let's just say a Dover or Pocono. Instead of just 2 weekends a year where you get all 3 series, you can spread them out where they have 6 weekends, right? Truck comes for a particular weekend, they're the only game in town. So the local people, right, they're more likely to attend because there's nothing else going on. And a lot of these tracks are located in places where there's not a lot going on, okay? So locals have something to do. So now we have night racing, okay? Saturday night, Friday night, whatever the case is. And let's say that it's Xfinity. That's the only game in town for this particular weekend. Let's go. There's nothing else going on. They're not competing with anyone else. And more people are likely to go. Also, because all 3 series are not together on the same weekend, people have more time to put a few bucks away. And if they want to go to another race in a few weeks, maybe Cup's coming or trucks, whatever the case is, they have time to put a few bucks away, and then maybe they can attend that race as well. People are more likely to go to multiple events because they're spread out through the year. Instead of just like, okay, everything's happening this fucking weekend, I can't go to multiple races, right? I think that NASCAR's hurting themselves the way they're doing things. So move these races to night racing, right? So it's more exciting, and spread the series out. And you don't have any multiple series running at one track. So every series has their own weekend at a particular track, and they're not competing with anyone else. And this really benefits the owners of the racetrack, because now a place like Pocono, instead of just operating 2 weekends a year, right? I'm just talking about NASCAR, right? I know they do other things, but instead of just 2 weekends a year, now you got 6 weekends, because you got Truck, Xfinity, Cup, and then another day Truck, Xfinity, Cup. So that's 6 weekends spread out, and that's each weekend that they are operating. Whatever series is there, that's all that's in town. And I really think they'll make more money, ticket sales wise, and local businesses also benefit. Okay, so the local economy is a little bit better off, because now you got NASCAR events 6 weekends a season instead of 2 weekends a season. I hope I explained that clearly and you guys get what I'm saying. Also, like I said, move everything to night racing, right? The schedule should be where Cup's running Saturday nights, and then Trucks and Xfinity's running Friday nights. So because these series are not at the same racetrack on weekends, you can have Truck and Xfinity running Friday nights because they're not at the same track. They're running in two completely different locations. I think in terms of TV ratings, I don't think they'll suffer much. I mean, who's going to say, I'm not going to go to my local track this weekend and catch the truck race because that's all that's in town, but I'm not going to go because I want to sit home and watch the Xfinity race? Nobody's going to do that. And it's not like it used to be where you had to program your VCR and you hope that you did it right and you'll catch the race. Everybody, there's no excuse to miss races now. Everyone's got some form of DVR with their cable company, whatever the case is, or you can just watch it online. Watch a replay of the race, whatever the case is. So you can go to a NASCAR event and you could still, like, later on watch the replay of the other race if you're so inclined to do it. But now you can run night races. I think people are more likely to go to these races also because it's a night event. I think that running on Sundays for the Cup Series, it really hurts Cup. I think these weekends are very long, and people have to go to work on Monday, and they need some time to decompress. I can tell you from personal experience, it's always a very tiring weekend. And by the time you get home, you don't want to go to work the next day. And that's not even taking into account if there's a rain out. And if you see these races that on a Monday, nobody stays for them. The entire racetrack is empty because everybody's going to work. Very few people stick around for a Monday race. But now, since you bumped everything a little sooner for night racing, if these races do happen to be rained out, you can run it the next morning or the next day. And let's say a Cup race gets rained out for Saturday night, you could still get it in on a Sunday, and more people are likely to stick around for that, right? So that's another added benefit. But night racing is fantastic. I think it's a more exciting event for people to get up and go and buy tickets and want to go attend. And the day races also, when it's in really hot weather with the sun out, it's brutal. Sitting out there for a couple of hours in the sun baking is also kind of tiring, man. At least with night races, you don't have to contend with that. There's just so many positives to night racing that I just think it's a win for everybody. I don't really see negatives. And the most important thing is that the last third of the NASCAR season, NASCAR is competing with the NFL. That is probably the single biggest issue NASCAR has in terms of the schedule and viewership. I think there's a lot of football is the most popular sport in America, and a lot of people just would rather stay home and watch football. There's a lot of gambling involved. There's I think the NFL has really hurt NASCAR. And I think it's a real disservice to NASCAR to try to compete with the NFL. You're not going to win. Moving these races to Saturday nights, it's a win because now people can still watch football on Sunday, and you're not competing head on. So these are the changes I would make, right? Split up the series, not have all these different series at the same track on the same weekend. Everything is spread out, and it gives all of these tracks multiple weekends to operate with a NASCAR event. That benefits the track. It benefits local businesses. It's a win for everyone. And I think more than likely, you're going to get more people at these races. Because if that's the only thing happening at a particular weekend, then yeah, I would go pay tickets to watch a truck race if that's all that's happening on this particular weekend. So I think you'll get more people out to these events. It's night racing, so that's great. And because they're not all at the same racetrack, you can have trucks and Xfinity run Friday nights because they're not at the same track. And then Saturday nights belong to Cup, and people, you can get home for Sunday and you can relax, before the work week. Maybe I'm missing something. And you guys can, of course, let me know, hey man, you know what? Here's a negative that you didn't think about. And you guys can tell me. But honestly, that's what I would do if I was NASCAR. I don't think this schedule they put out is final. And it's, for the most part, it's good for next year. I think in 2021 they're going to change it again. But I'm throwing this out there, and who knows if there's somebody out there in the NASCAR organization you know, I really think they should consider pushing night racing. And these racetracks that don't have lights, you got to let them know, listen, man, if you want to maintain NASCAR as part of your schedule and be part of the NASCAR circuit, you're going to have to make that investment. And knowing that you're going to have multiple weekends of NASCAR events, it makes it more profitable for these tracks. They're more willing to spend money and say, you know what, it's going to cost some money to make sure we have lights, but instead of just like even a track that only runs one weekend, right, like Darlington or whatever, now you got 3 weekends instead of just one weekend with all 3 series, because you spread the different series out. So now you got three weekends at Darlington. That racetrack has a NASCAR event. That's good for business. It's good for the track. I think that's what NASCAR needs to do. And you're not competing with the NFL and Sundays and stuff like that. That's what I would do. And I really think that would have a huge positive effect on the growth of NASCAR. And who doesn't like night racing? Night racing is fucking awesome. So those are my thoughts. These are the ideas I have as far as NASCAR. So I talked about, you know, how to branch out to people who aren't normally NASCAR fans. And now I talked about the actual scheduling. Okay? So that's another thing NASCAR can do. And actively make changes that would benefit the sport. The schedule to me, the way it is now especially, it's a hindrance to NASCAR. It hurts. They're shooting themselves in the foot. And, you know, the next year's schedule, I, for the most part, like it. That doubleheader at Pocono, I have no idea what NASCAR was thinking. That's a boneheaded move. I don't get it. And I don't see anybody who's a local, okay, who's going to come out to Pocono and then come back again a week later. I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for that. So those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments. And I'm thinking of doing a video talking about, you know, NASCAR, the video game, and actually talk about online multiplayer a little bit, my ideas to improve it. I always talk about, you know, offline career mode. You guys know that for me, that's the most important thing. That goes without saying. And I've already put out all my ideas repeatedly. But, you know, as much as I dislike online multiplayer racing, I do have ideas. So if you're interested, I'll do a video on it. If not, you know, who knows. So I look forward to your comments. Let me know what you guys think about what I said about the scheduling, and I look forward to your comments.